original production of I Am My Own Wife, director Moises Kaufman, set designer Derek McLean, and lighting designer David Lander worked in concert to create a heart-stopping effect. These ingenious flourishes belong to the play's original creative team, but I hope they suggest the magical possibilities of Charlotte's world. This is a quote directly from Doug Wright from the script about the original production of I Am My Own Wife and how it serves as inspiration to future designers for the production. Today I will be discussing 3 unique productions of I Am My Own Wife by Doug Wright. In preparation to give this speech today, I read the play multiple times, I researched many various productions, and researched commentary on the technical elements of those productions. The first production we'll be looking at is the Lyceum Theater on Broadway's 2003 production. The second production is About Face Theater in Chicago's 2016 production, and the third production is Theater Raleigh in North Carolina's 2019 production. So let's go back to the beginning with I Am My Own Wife's opening production on Broadway in 2003. So my first piece of evidence for this production comes from a review done by Matthew Murray for Talkin' Broadway in 2003. As for the now ubiquitous costume provided by Janice Patel, Mace no longer wears the black dress and elegant string of pearls as a costume, but rather a second skin. Complementing his performance still further, he has found in these clothes the spirit of von Mahlsdorf, and the strength and confidence to even more convincingly embody those populating Wright's saga physically and verbally. So I chose this quote because it emphasizes the importance of that primary costume worn by a singular actor. It's what an audience sees most of the show, as that actor embodies multiple characters. And this quote really emphasizes how that costume can enhance the actor's performance of all of those portrayals. My second piece of evidence comes from a review done by David Finkel for Theater Mania in 2003. The quality of Wright's piece is matched by Derek McLean's set, which initially appears to be simple, but like the play, slowly unfolds its complexities. As the play negotiates its many grooves like a sapphire needle on a 78, David Lander occasionally lets light flow through the wall to focus this way and that on eye-catching groups of objects. So I really like this quote because it highlights the collaboration between set lights and the set dressing, the props. And that will be a theme that is in all 3 of our productions, that collaboration between design elements, and it also emphasizes how that set and the highlighting of different areas of it emphasizes and embellishes the overall story. My third piece of evidence comes from an article written by Charles Isherwood for Variety. Derek McLean has recreated his haunting set design from the off-Broadway staging. The foreground is occupied by a stylized depiction of von Mahlsdorf's parlor. Looming against the back wall are carefully arranged rows of antique furniture, clocks, and gramophones gleaming in the soft glow of David Lander's lighting. So once again, this quote highlights how the set and the lights work together and how the emphasis on certain areas of the set highlights where we are in the story. So here are some images from this original Broadway production. In the first picture, you can see that costume design, that traditional black shirt, black skirt, single strand of pearls. You can also see some of the set, but most importantly, the props and that tiny kitchen that's mentioned in the script on the table next to Charlotte. And in the second picture, you can see more of the set design in its entirety. It's a low quality picture, I apologize. And how it's just shelves of antiques and areas of it are highlighted by lighting. So moving forward to a more recent production with 4 actors instead of just 1. So this is About Face Theater in Chicago's 2016 production of the show. And my first piece of evidence comes from Heidi Weiss from the Chicago Sun-Times in 2016. Brian Prather's set, which suggests the high ceilings of Berlin apartments, is expertly decorated with Vivian Naus's props, and Bob Kuhn's costumes are spot on. So once again, this quote, like the previous production, highlights the interaction between those design elements and just gives overall praise to the design elements as a whole. My second piece of evidence comes from a review written by Lawrence Balmer for Stage and Cinema in 2016. Splendidly shaped by Andrew Volkov and perfectly pictured by Brian Prather's telling props, this fluid reimagining delivers all the quicksilver nuances and treacherous turns in Wright's necessarily convoluted exposure. So this quote really highlights props and their importance to this show in particular. This script really lends itself to a creative property design. And it also mentions that Brian Prather is the props designer, as well as in the last quote it mentioned that he was a set designer, so he did that holistically. My third piece of evidence is kind of unique because it comes from the personal portfolio of the sound designer for this production, Sarah D. Espinoza. And she has all of the sound effects that she used for the show on her portfolio and then explanations of them. And so this is the explanation that accompanies the sound effect that was used for, and it was spring, and the birds were singing in the trees, and it was an awful war. She says this: "The sound design highlights how the music transports her to her memories, which begin to overwhelm her until she latches back onto the melody and resumes her storytelling." So this play, more than other plays, lends itself to sound design. Sound design is an often underappreciated part of both musicals and plays, but especially plays. And it's always special when you can hear directly from the designer and what they were trying to convey with their design. So looking at some pictures from About Face Theater's production, in this first image you can see those additional actors that were mentioned, as well as the lighting design. You can see they stuck to that more traditional costume. And in that second image you can see a little bit more of the set. You can see once again that tiny kitchen on the table, that property design. You can see another one of the actors. My understanding is that there were actors playing Doug and the other main man, John, thank you. And then I'm not 100% certain who the third male actor portrayed. But yeah, so you can see a little bit more of the set design in that second image. And finally, another more recent production, this one returning to the more traditional single actor. So Theater Raleigh in North Carolina did I Am My Own Wife in 2019. And this first piece of evidence comes from a review written anonymously under the pseudonym of The Phantom for Triangle Arts and Entertainment in 2019. Scene design by Chris Bernier and lighting design by Andrew Parks work together perfectly in establishing the feeling that we are in a museum-like shadowland of Mulsdorf's life. This combination is inviting and works to encourage us to both view and perhaps lean into the shelves and secrets of our own lives. I just really liked this quote because a big part of technical design is setting that mood when the audience gets there before the play even starts. And so it touches on how they do that, how they create that atmosphere, and they really get the audience in the mood of the show before the script begins. And it also, once again, emphasizes set and lighting working together. My second piece of evidence for this production comes from a review done by Susie Potter, also for Triangle Arts and Entertainment in 2019. Strong lighting effects from Andrew Parks highlight the show's most intense and dramatic moments. Each moment or piece of the play is also nicely moved along and centered by projections of the scene titles on the walls. So this is the first review of any of the productions that I found that mentions projections, and so they used projections to highlight those big scene titles of each of the sections of the play on the wall, and I think that's a great way to enhance the play and further portray the playwright's intention, because he put those titles in there for a reason. And then my third piece of evidence for this production comes from a review written by Roy Dix for CBNC in 2019. Chris Bernier's setting of a room in Charlotte's museum has a stunning back wall of floor-to-ceiling shelves crammed with trunks, baskets, clocks, lamps, and photos, from which Charlotte picks out the props needed for any particular scene, and kudos to property designer Tim Domack. Andrew Park's lighting adds great atmosphere, enhancing the mood of a jail cell or secret police investigation. Alexander Collins' varied sound design includes music from a cylinder machine, audio from interview tapes, and clocks chiming. So this quote once again emphasizes that holistic collaboration, but it especially nods to the fact that we have a singular stationary set, but then the actor takes props to emphasize where we are in the story, as well as lighting helps emphasize varied locations. So here are some pictures from this production. You can see in that first image, the set design, props filled with, or shelves filled with antiques. And then you can also see some of the costume and lighting design. And then in the second picture, you can see a better close-up of that costume design. This production strayed from that traditional black and did more blues and creams to fit the color scheme of the show in its entirety. And then this is perhaps the best and most close-up picture of that tiny kitchen. And you can even see that tiny gramophone on the table in the little kitchen. Very cute. So to conclude, here are some pictures from Long Wharf's current production that's happening right now. It'll close next weekend in Connecticut of I Am My Own Wife that takes a whole new design vision. In the script, Charlotte's gramophones are described as resembling flowers, which is really taken to heart here. You can also see the varied lighting design and how the actor changes costumes throughout the production. It's just another production for your consideration. So today we examined 3 unique productions of Doug Wright's I Am My Own Wife, as well as their technical designs. We looked at the importance of Charlotte's singular costume, as well as the set and lighting collaboration on the Broadway production at the Lyceum Theater. We examined the emphasis on property design as well as a unique sound design in About Face Theater in Chicago's 2016 production. And we delved into the holistic collaboration of all technical elements, including projections, in Theater Raleigh's 2019 production in North Carolina. Especially with such a small cast like this show, the collaboration and cohesion of technical elements is essential, and today we saw proof of 3 brilliantly executed collaborations amongst 3 unique design teams. Creating the many varied locations of I Am My Own Wife and a space where the actor can explore and really bring Charlotte to life is a difficult and challenging task, but with lighting, sound, set, props, costumes, and sometimes projections, the designers behind these 3 productions have expertly furthered Doug Wright's material into something even more alive. Thank you.
Awesome. That Longmore production.
It's beautiful. I've never wanted to live in Connecticut more in my life.
Interesting. With those gramophones.
The tiny kitten.
So
Did it like go out during your speech?
No, 11. Oh, I think it's still recording.
Okay.
Cute.